Welcome back to Fantasy Sports News and World Report in our season premiere. Ladies and gentlemen, come on. I know, just by what I'm wearing, it is time for some football. With me, unfortunately, they're wearing the wrong jerseys, but they are well knowledgeable about the game. I have here with the Redskin historian himself, Mr. Mike Richman. Welcome back.
Hey, Brian.
And the ultimate Redskin fan, and somewhat Yankee fan. But anyway, we have here is Ulysses Campbell, producer of The Fantastic Form. How you doing, my friend?
Pleasure to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me.
All right, gentlemen. We've waited for a long time to get back into the gridiron, but we're still trying to get this out of our heads. The Saints winning the Super Bowl. I'm still trying to understand it. Granted, they played a really great game. And surprisingly enough, it had that mirror image of Super Bowl III where the Colts were favored and somehow the Jets just pulled it out. And Saints just sort of like they stuck it with them, and then the last drive, you know, pretty much Peyton Manning bit himself. So what I'm trying to ask here is, was this really a legit team that won the Super Bowl, or was this a fluke? Michael, let's start with you.
Well, it depends on which way you want to look at it. You have to factor in Brett Favre and that let me explain. That interception that he threw at the end of the NFC Championship game. I mean, it was a terrible pass, and he threw across his body, and the Saints won that game. The Saints beat the Vikings in that game and went to the Super Bowl. The Vikings were in position to kick the winning field goal. So there you have Brett Favre, that gunslinger, that guy who makes those reckless throws. Just made a horrible pass. But then again, actually when the Saints were 13-0, and then they lost their last 3 regular season games, I said, that's it. They weren't doing anything in the playoffs. They got hot, and that's what happens in the NFL frequently these days. The team gets hot and holds it out, just like the Giants did a few years ago.
Well, speaking of, during that whole 13-0 mix, there were, some signs that the Saints would have folded. Now, you were witnessing one of those games when they were in Washington. Well, the Redskins did have a chance to end that, but do you feel like were they a legit team then in that game?
Right, you bring it back home. I remember being in the stands that game against the Redskins. And that was our game. We were the undefeated Saints. They were getting ready to get them. And I remember the one play that stands out for me was you knew Drew Brees was going to throw an interception. Okay, he throws the interception. Here we are. We're advancing the ball, and all of a sudden, the receiver takes it away from the DB, and there he's running. And I'm like, wait, what happened? Everybody in the stands, we were screaming, but then all of a sudden, the player was going the other way. And we're like, no, he was down. What happened? You know? So at least they've got these beautiful new scoreboards. So we'll all be able to see what happens this season. But I just need to go back real quick to what you were saying about how this Super Bowl mirrored Super Bowl III. Because it did, but it was almost sort of the reverse. Because the Mike Colts, that NFL juggernaut, now here, they were the AFC team. And the Saints, playing the upstart AFL Jets, were the NFC team. And, we saw what happened. But as far as whether or not the Saints are a fluke, I don't think so. I think you look back a couple of years ago when the Saints advanced to the championship against Chicago and just barely lost. I think that they have established their bona fides. They've got the players, they've got the coaching staff, they've got what you need. Now, I'm sensitive to what you say, Mike, about what happened in the NFC Championship, because certainly that was the Vikings' game to win,
Absolutely.
And they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. But it's the same kind of thing with the Colts, because here the mighty Colts are marching down the field, and all of a sudden, on defense, here the Saints pull this thing out. Which is, greater evidence to me that this was a legitimate win for them, because, had it been anything other than an interception, by Peyton Manning, no less, perhaps the greatest quarterback of his age, then people are going to be second-guessing this thing for years. But, because the Colts lost the thing when they were on offense, I don't think there's any denying that the Saints were meant to be there, and they were destined to win. Now, whether or not they can repeat, whether or not they're able to muster any sort of serious challenge this season, I think remains to be seen. But, the former Aints, now they've got a swagger about them. They're the defending champions, so everybody's going to be trying to knock them off, but, they're ready for it.
Well, I'm going to give some kudos to the Saints with not only picking up Drew Brees, because I was kind of prepared to see you know, when the Chargers were in the playoffs, I was kind of hoping to see the Chargers against the Saints, because that would have been interesting. You know, going against your forward team, but you let him go, but he ends up, you know, burning him if he could. But the other thing I was pleased with was not just their defense. The defense just had that little swagger, and especially at times when you figured they were down out, but the defense pulled them out. It's their offense. Marcus Colston has been a phenomenal fantasy, you know, underling. You know, he's just, once he was noticed like 3 years ago, everyone was like, who is this guy? And then now he's almost like a top 10 receiver out there. And of course you can't forget Reggie Bush. He's well contributed during the Super Bowl. So, but then again, the rest of the elite Saints wide receiving corps has been beneficial to this whole team. So, and speaking of the receivers, a lot of teams are trying to emulate that. So I feel that, you know, granted, we've heard all the trade rumors of, we've seen Santonio Holmes going to the Jets, which to this day I'm still kind of surprised. But I'm happy to have my boy Anquan Boldin now coming to the Ravens. Brandon Marshall going to the Miami Dolphins basically as a happy camper since leaving Denver. And of course we have now T.O. Ochocinco, which I'm trying to get over my head with. But among these guys who have went from, you know, they're from their former teams to new teams, who do you think will benefit? Ulysses, who do you see? And also, in addition to, do you feel like your team, the Redskins, do they feel like they missed the boat?
Well, okay. First thing I want to say is I remember last season I was the one who said that Reggie Bush was a stinker. Right. I was like, stay away from this guy. You don't want him. I was wrong. Okay. Hey, when I'm wrong, I admit when I'm wrong. So I'm just going to say that up front. Now, I think that the best offseason acquisition in terms of a wide receiver moving has got to be Bill Guy, because Bolden is going to pay instant dividends to the Colts. Sorry, Ravens. You know.
Hello?
Freudian slip. Baltimore. It's supposed to be the Colts. That's a whole other thing. But you know, he's going to pay instant dividends because the Ravens are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and this guy is going to free stuff up for your next guy. You know, basically Derek Mason couldn't catch a break last season because everybody was all over him. You know, now I think he's going to have a phenomenal season, you know, because of the presence of Anquan Boldin.
I would have to say the Ravens. It hurts a little bit, but not only Anquan Boldin, but Dante Stallworth. I mean, he is a legitimate threat when he has his head in the game, and they're both going to complement Derek Mason. So I have to say that the Ravens probably benefited the most at wide receiver this offseason. In terms of the combo in Cincinnati, T.O. and Ochocinco, I think it can work if, and this is a big if egos don't come into play.
Right.
And already, and this really confuses me, I don't understand how T.O. is Batman and Ochocinco is Robin,
right,
when Ochocinco has seniority over T.O. He's been in Cincinnati for so many more years. And how a man with his ego would accept something like that. Because Robin is seen as a subordinate to Batman.
Right. I think, you know, viewing it as, I feel like, Chad Johnson, yes, I'm going to use your maiden name, to the fact that I think he sees it as, you know, Terrell has played in the league a lot longer. So I got the sense that that's where he feels like, yeah, he's Batman, I'm Robin. Because I kind of sense the fact that Chad Johnson's trying to be the, you know, the new essence of T.O., because T.O. was doing all the same antics as Chad was doing early in his career. So I feel like, granted, both of them together will be interesting. Granted, they're, you know, the reality shows are doing somewhat well. Thank God they're going down to whatever.
Everything is fine and dandy right now.
Yeah.
Before you move on, I just have to address this Batman and Robin thing, seeing as how I'm a comic book guy. If the perception is that Robin is a punk, he's really not.
I don't think he's a punk.
Well, that's why I said to you off like a week ago. So it's like, okay, is he Jason Todd or Tim Drake or Dick Grayson? Yeah.
You know, I think this is supposed to be the Dick Grayson Robin, who is actually kind of cool. You know, I mean, this is, you know, a real, you know, hey, you know, they're partners. You know?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
You know, Batman's name
Robin
was
was always very loyal to Batman.
That's right.
And maybe these two, Ochocinco and T.O., are seeing it that way. Maybe they're more on a, you know, the same playing field. But, and it's early. We have to see how things go throughout the regular season, I've seen thus far T.O. get a lot more throws than Ocho Cinco. So, and that could play a factor.
It's a disaster waiting to happen.
All right, well, let's quickly get into the stud, sleeper, and stinkers. I'm going to go right from the top. I have to say Drew Brees.
He's a stud.
He's the perfect stud right now. His numbers from last year, you can't deny the fact that he's overcome all the whatever problems he had in San Diego, and he's leading it to a team that was, donned as the snake-bitten team, and leading to a Super Bowl is absolutely phenomenal. Yuli, quickly, who's your stud?
Okay, my stud has got to be Ray Rice. You cannot go wrong with this guy, and I know he was a sleeper for you.
He was my sleeper pick last year.
But I tell you what, this guy is totally legit. Any fantasy owner who picks this guy up is going to be completely happy with him, hands down.
Who's your stud?
Okay, well, of course, Brees is a can't miss. How about Chris Johnson of the Titans? 2,509 overall yards last year, an NFL record, more than 2,000 rushing yards. I mean, how can you go wrong with him?
I can't. You can't really. I just can't. So,
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Any of these guys are no-brainers.
Right. Who's your sleeper pick?
My sleeper pick will be a Redskin. Let me explain. Fred Davis, tight end. I think he had a very good season last year. 48 catches, 509 yards, 6 touchdowns. I think he's going to have even more of a breakout season this year. And I think Davis and Chris Cooley, that combination, is going to be explosive. And now the only thing that could hurt them is that the Redskins are really thin at wide receiver. So these guys could be doubled, one or both, Cooley and Davis. But I think Davis is going to catch a lot of balls.
Those Davis numbers, that's only half a season of work, too.
Right. He came in for Cooley when Cooley was injured.
Exactly.
Who's your sleeper pick, quickly?
Well, quickly, I'd have to say, and I'm going out on a limb just a little bit here, but I think Javon Walker with the Vikings, and that's only because of the Sidney Rice injury. Right. I think this guy is going to end up getting a lot of touches, and I think that fantasy owners they'll have some success if they want to go for this guy.
All right, my sleeper. Like I said, lately I've been doing teams, and I'm going to give them another chance. I'm saying the Houston Texans. Just the entire team itself. I feel their defense, it's maturing. It's really giving the AFC South a very interesting dynamic, and it's not just the Colts anymore. Because granted, it's only the preseason right now, but the Colts are not the Colts anymore. I feel that the Titans, they're slowly getting back into the groove. But I feel the Texans, that entire team, I think Matt Schwab is a great leader for that quarterback. They got a great young talented receiver in Andre Johnson, and of course, their Staten is a phenomenal running back. So I feel the entire Houston Texans team is a team to really look out for. Stinker, I'm not going to do it again for a third year in a row because I think, granted, I think he will retire Brett Favre, but do what you got to do and say goodbye. I feel the stinker will be Ben Roethlisberger. I feel that the 6 weeks he'll be out. When he comes back, he'll not be really the same. Granted, he may give a little oomph, but I just feel that what he's done to his team and that organization, not once, this is the second time now, I feel has really hurt the Steelers. Really tried to be a contender in this season. Really quickly, your stinker?
I am so glad you said Brett Favre because I had him at the top of my stinker list. So since you have said him, I'm actually going to throw 2 names in the mix. I'm going to say Deion Branch with Seattle, and I'm also going to say Jeremy Shockey.
Okay, quickly, give me one name.
Jay Cutler.
Ooh, that's enough said right there.
But, I mean, he wasn't the greatest fantasy player last year, 27 touchdowns, but a league-high 26 picks. But I think even with Mike Martz there as offensive coordinator in Chicago this season, Cutler's not going to do much better. He's a gunslinger.
And speaking of which, we're going to shoot to a commercial. When we come back, we will be dealing with our NFL picks. So stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Fantasy Sports World Girl, Susana Miguel. There's more fantasy sports news and World Report right after this.
Teaching a kid football is one thing. Keeping a kid in school, that's the name of my game. My name is LaDainian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Hi, I'm Fantasy Sports World Girl Delilah, and welcome back to the second half of the Fantasy Sports News and World Report.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Sports News and World Report. I'm your host, Bryan Lyles. With me again is Michael Richman, the author of the Redskins Encyclopedia and the official Redskins historian, and the fabulous producer of the Fantastic Forum, Ulysses Campbell. How you doing?
Hey, Brian.
All right, round 2 of our pick'em games. Ding. Granted, we've made pick'ems like the biggest thing around here, and I've done well with them. I've stunk on them, especially with the Super Bowl picks. But let's start with opening night. Vikings Saints, the rematch of the NFC Championship game. Granted, you mentioned that earlier before. I'm going to start with you, Mike. Do you see it a repeat pattern or something different?
A repeat pattern in terms of a letdown. I do not see that with the Saints. I think, like you mentioned, Drew Brees earlier, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They have so much firepower. Marcus Colston. I don't think they're going to have a letdown. NFC South teams have not done that well in recent years that have won the division, and then the next year they've had the letdowns. I don't see that with the Saints. I think I'm taking the Saints in this game. And then, of course, we have the Brett Favre factor. It's unknown right now how well he's going to do. The guy's going to be 41 years old. At some point, he's going to break down.
Yeah. Yuli, who do you see winning this game?
I see the Saints winning this game. No ifs, ands, or buts. I think that it's not going to be as close as it was for the NFC Championship. From what I've seen of the Vikings so far this season and preseason, I think it's going to be rough for them. I really do. And, that's why Tavares Jackson might not be a bad pickup for some folks, because I don't think Brett Favre's going to last the season.
Right. I'm going to make this a clean sweep. I just think that the Vikings are, granted, Brett Favre, he'll start, but I just don't think that this sort of like, okay, I'm ready to play now, attitude just doesn't work. And especially when your opening game is against the defending champions and, of course, a team that you played against last year for the conference title, I think it's a whole different dynamic. And granted, Adrian Peterson is a phenomenal back, but he cannot carry this team. And I think and then like you said, there's extensive injuries on the Vikings receiving core now. So this is going to be a big load for Peterson to carry. So I'm saying the Saints will take week number 1. Steelers and Titans. Long ago, these were two teams that were big, huge rivals. Now, again, this is a little different dynamic. Ben Roethlisberger, supposedly, I believe, by this week, will have to come back. But we will see. Yuli, I'll start with you. Who do you think will win this game?
I see the Steelers winning this game. The Titans are tough. I think that they're well coached. They've got some good talent. But the Steelers, I really like Byron Leftwich. I see him. In fact, that was another game where somebody came in and said, hey,
we were talking about Byron Leftwich the other night. Does this guy have any mobility at all?
Hey, look, he doesn't need mobility. I remember in this when he was at Marshall, the bowl game they played.
Carried him.
Yeah, he had a broken leg. This guy was getting carried up to the line of scrimmage by his offensive line. I'm thinking, geez, if I were the backup here, I'd be feeling really bad. A guy with a broken leg, and I'm still sitting on the bench. But I saw what this guy could do against the Redskins. A Monday night game here in Washington, they came in and they ate us alive. We were 6-2 at the time, feeling pretty good about ourselves. And, I don't think that the Steelers' offense misses a beat with this guy. And they've got pretty good defense. Even though it's a home game for the Titans, I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say Steelers.
I'm going to pick the Titans. Jeff Fisher is one of my favorite coaches. Like Julie said, well-coached team. That's what
I would like to say Pittsburgh, just with your comments alone, but I'm going with the Titans because of this factor. They have they've done this before when they won this after the Super Bowl. Granted, the bus, retired, but, some of their players were, they were just pissing off. The one thing that I felt was kind of unusual was letting go of Santonio Holmes. Your Super Bowl MVP receiver your future receiver. You still have Hines Ward, granted, I can understand it, but he's getting older. You get rid of Willie Parker's now with your guys' team. I don't understand that either. You're bringing a rookie to take over. You got, again, the Big Ben issue. Granted, Bryan Lyles is a phenomenal quarterback. I'm still wondering why the Jacksonville Jaguars let him go. But I just feel like Titans, Chris Johnson, Vince Young is finally regaining himself. I think the Titans in general are trying to recompose themselves and try to regain the glory that got them to be a contending team for the last few years before all this drama happened but I just feel, but I just feel that the Titans. I think they're a very legit team. I think they're going to contend for it, and this is one of their big tests. And I think sadly, Pittsburgh's going to be one of those teams that are going to knock over. So
can I just touch on the San Antonio Holmes situation quickly? The Steelers have proven to be a team that does not tolerate nonsense.
I noticed that.
Right, and that is a major reason they've been so good in recent years. And they did not tolerate it with San Antonio Holmes. And I don't remember the specifics in terms of he had an off-the-field issue, or there was some type of controversial issue he was involved in. And they only received a 5th-round draft pick for him. But for the Steelers, that's enough. They are so well coached. They have such a great scouting staff. They will compensate for it.
We'll see. Next game, Eli versus Peyton. Who will win that one?
Peyton. Peyton.
But granted,
Peyton all the way.
Granted, it is technically the Colts and the Colts and Giants.
The Colts.
Really?
This is big brother versus little brother, and the Colts are big brother. Let me tell you. No offense to the Giants, but the Giants are a shadow of their former selves from a couple of years ago. They've lost a lot of great players. There seems to be something going on there. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there's something. It's like that smell right. That smell right up in there. So it's like, hey, a beautiful new stadium that they have, but this game's on the road.
Colts. I think Peyton is going to overshadow Eli. Also, it's Indianapolis home game for them, and I agree with Yuli that there's something going on with the Giants in terms of a letdown. 8-8 last year. I know they
great start.
Right. They had a 5-0 start, and they had a nice season after winning the Super Bowl a few years ago. But then they had a letdown in the postseason, and then they had a 500 record last year. So I can't see them doing much damage this year.
You're living on borrowed time. Let me tell you something. If we score in week 3 of that Super Bowl season, we're not talking about any of this. Their coach is fired. They go on to be nothing. We made them. We made them.
I've already heard complaints about their new stadium.
Already?
Oh, yes. 80,000, I think that's what it holds. But it's just that from other members of the media who have toured the stadium, it's not the nicest facility.
The toilets don't work. That's that smell. It's backing up, baby.
And that's going to be in, Super Bowl 47, I believe? 48?
2014.
Yeah, 14.
They get that problem.
Oh, yes. All right. I'm going to take Indy. I think, same issue. Big brother will just dominate little brother every time. But and I thought also the same issue. I kind of saw that a little bit in the preseason game against the Jets for the Giants. It was a lot of communication problems, a lot of just unfamiliarity, and I think Tom Coughlin is I wouldn't say is to blame. I just feel like he's went through this before in Jacksonville. He's dominated, he helped that team to be a contending team, and then years down, it's just sort of like just faded away. And I think it's just the way he probably coaches.
This guy's sure. Captain Bly.
Right. Yeah. Well, here's the interesting aspect. There's sort of like the interstate rivalry game. Cowboys and Texans. Granted, I know you're reminiscing right now, but I'm going to start this off because, like I said, the Texans are a sleeper team. I just feel like this is a team that they need to face at a rightful moment. I will say the Houston Texans will take this game. I just don't think that Dallas is that. Dallas is always, it looks impressive on paper, it looks impressive on television, but somehow you know, when they play, it's kind of like, okay, it's a wait and see. But that's just me. But I feel Houston is a legit team, and it really is going to contend for the AFC South. I'm going to say the Texans. Mike?
I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys. It's in Dallas. And I want to touch on the point you made earlier about the Texans and picking the whole team as being your fantasy favorites. No Kyle Shanahan this year. Now with the Redskins as the Redskins offensive coordinator. Last year, Texans offensive coordinator. Texans had the #4 offense in the league. They don't have Shanahan this year. And we've seen in past years when coaches have made those moves, the teams don't perform the same the following year. Also, I know the Cowboys have lost a couple of offensive linemen for a while. But this is the time of the year when they peak. Early in the season, they're like a Jekyll and Hyde. So, go with the Cowboys.
Really quickly, who you got?
Okay, I got to go with the Cowboys also. Now, I'm going to be praying to God that the Texans beat them because I hate the Cowboys just about more than anybody except possibly the Boston Red Sox. But, I mean, and I was telling my son, my 13-year-old son is going to be 14. He'll be 14. I thought this thing I said, son, we're going to concentrate on liking the Redskins. It's not about hating the Cowboys. It's about liking the Redskins. But I hate the Cowboys anyway. But if I were betting money on this game, I'd have to go with the Cowboys. I mean, now again, I'm hoping, I'm praying, I want you to be right so bad. I'm going to be rooting for the Texans, but I think the Cowboys.
All right. I want to get quick. I would love to spend forever on this, but quickly. First meeting, Redskins, Eagles, go.
Geez, okay. Well, I'm going to pick the Redskins, but I'm going to do it with sort of caveat, only because I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, you mentioned Jekyll and Hyde. It's like, whoa. I mean, that's kind of the way I feel about us. And, I have watched the Redskins for more than 30 years come up with new and interesting ways to lose games. And I'm just, well, how could they come up to lose to a, frankly, inferior Eagles team? If the Redskins do what I know they can do, if they play up to their potential, then they're going to win this game, hands down, especially given that this is McNabb facing his former team. But, knowing how we do, it's like, whoa, Kevin Kolb is likely to look like Johnny Unitas in this game or something, I mean, so we'll see.
All right, quickly.
Redskins.
Enough said.
I think the Redskins are actually going to surprise some teams this year. Also, this game is going to largely come down to Donovan McNabb. Is he going to be healthy? Is he even going to play? He's been injury prone throughout his career. I think that's what this entire season is going to be based on for the Redskins. Can McNabb give the Redskins at least 14 starts? In this particular game, the expectations are not going to be that high for the Redskins. It's going to be in Philly, hostile crowd. I think the Redskins are going to pull off an upset.
All right. I'll say Philly because of this aspect. You guys got no line. That's it. It's just like, I don't know what Donovan's going to do except run for his life. So I'm going to end it on that. Philly, you're going to take this. So, gentlemen, I thank you for being here. So we'll see you guys again, hopefully down later in the season. So more of this crazy talk of football. So,
who's the Fantasy Sports Girl of the Month, Brian?
That is a good question. Our Fantasy World Girl of this month and for basically this entire summer her name is Erica Mashon. She is from Detroit, but she has done a lot. She's been on the cover of Double XL magazine, Backstreet Choppers, Dolls magazine, and currently she's on the issue of Kings magazine, and she has been seen in the Dwelle video Cheating. You can check her out on her Model Mayhem or Facebook page, and granted, you can't go wrong with Erica. So congratulations, Erica. Again, gentlemen, thank you for being here, and I thank you for watching Fantasy Sports News World Report. I will see you next time.